Welcome to Better Sex, where you get the information and inspiration to create and enjoy your best possible sex life. Join your host, sex therapist Jessa Zimmerman, as she brings you expert guests, helpful tips, knowledge, and strategies to improve your intimate relationships. And now, your host, Jessa Zimmerman.
Hey, it's Jessa back for another episode of the Better Sex Podcast. Thank you for joining me. Yet another fascinating conversation. How many times can I say this, that I love talking to these people and I just get to have these really interesting conversations all the time? Maybe they're getting more interesting. That's how it seems to me anyway. But we're going to talk today about the intersection of self-leadership and erotic rope play. It turns out what seemed like two separate interests and pursuits for my guest, Edward Willey, really come together because rope play is a great place to develop and practice self-leadership. And you're going to hear more about how these work together and why it makes so much sense. But there's so much room to learn about yourself and to develop and to grow and to be challenged on really either side of the rope. So it's fascinating. So anyway, I hope you're going to get a ton out of this, whether you ever thought you were interested in rope play or not. I promise you this conversation will be valuable. And before we start the show today, it is sponsored by Intimacy with Ease. It's a method to help otherwise happy couples achieve a sex life that is easy and fun for both of them, so that you can actually just enjoy your sex life with zero stress. For more information, if you want to watch a brief little training video that's available, all of that, go to intimacywithease.com. Thank you so much for being on the show with me today.
Thanks for having me on, Jessa. Really appreciate it.
So we're going to get into not love and erotic rope bondage, but I sort of wanted to start with the intersection of that and leadership, because you see these two things connected, right? So I guess I'd love to know a little bit about your background in each of those and how these come together in your mind and your experience.
Yeah, it's a great question. It took a while for both of those to kind of find some commonality.
Okay.
So I've been in technology my whole life. I've been a software engineer. I was a VP of software engineering up until October of 2019. And then I decided that I wanted to follow my heart, which is to help people. And I'm a meditation teacher and coach. I'm a movement coach, Qigong teacher. Another track of my life was maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I started teaching a rope bondage meetup. And that's something I didn't really expect to do. I didn't have a huge interest in rope bondage, but I had some interest since I was a Boy Scout early on. And I love knots.
Sorry, that just sort of cracks me up. I don't think that's a badge in Boy Scouts, so is it?
No, we didn't. Yeah, we got knot badges. We didn't get actual Shibari badges though.
Right.
But I started teaching that at a local sex shop, women-owned sex shop, or actually mother and daughter owned here in Santa Cruz, and held a monthly meetup.
Okay,
and that was great. Until my partner suggested that I combine my open-hearted meditation, movement, philosophy teaching together with the rope stuff. And I joked. I said, oh, yeah, I teach about love, opening the heart, cultivating love. And I'll teach about not love, K-N-O-T love, play on words. And so I started to introduce some movement, meditation practices at the beginning of my rope teaching, and then talk more about the connection that's happening between two people, not just how do you tie this technical knot. And what I found was people started learning the stuff I was teaching them so much quicker. But more importantly, the connection between partners greatly increased. It started to be less like, oh, how do I tie this thing on you, to, oh, how do I connect with you? And this is almost secondary, the actual rope teaching.
Yeah. So it does make me curious how your partner thought of this? Like, what do you know the story of how this occurred in their mind and why they said, wait, these two things go together?
We were just talking one night. Yeah, she's brilliant. So she's got a brilliant mind.
Okay, so she's just brilliant.
Full of ideas. Okay. Yeah, she runs a couple of businesses. She's a psychotherapist. She has a new project that'll help women who are going through menopause be able to view it as a powerful rite of passage as opposed. And she also has a jewelry design business. So she has a good entrepreneur mindset. So we fit really well together.
Okay. So talk a little bit more about this connection between the, I don't know what you call people, the tire and the tie.
Well, you call it the rigger and the rope bunny, or the rope top and the rope bottom.
Okay.
A lot of people switch. So some people like to be the one tying, some people like to be the one tied up, and some people like to do both. I think that's kind of the best of both worlds. What most people teach is the technical side. How do you tie this fancy knot? Mm-hmm. And that's what people think in rope play you need to know. But it's so much more than that. They use some terms in rope play called one's Shibari, probably the most common term. It's a Japanese word that just means to tie.
Okay.
You can Shibari your shoelaces or a Christmas present. It's really all that it means. Another word is Kinbaku, which means to bind tightly.
Okay.
That's more the bondage, the restrictive aspect of rope play. There's another word in Japanese culture called Misubi. And Misubi means the knot that binds together. God of Misubi in Japanese culture is a god of partnership and marriage and connection. It really means the thread that ties all of creation together.
Wow.
And so I focus on that. Really, the most important aspect of rope play is that connection that's happening between you and your partner. So in my rope classes, I teach people how to get present and centered, connected inside of themselves first, then open the heart, connect with their partner. And then from that connected, grounded, present, aware place, then you can start to add in some of the rope techniques. But without that foundation of relaxation, confidence, and open, then the rope tying can be kind of a struggle, and you get caught up in your head and you're worried about how you're doing it right. But if you develop that first, that groundwork, then it doesn't even matter what you're really, the kind of knots you're putting on your partner. That's where the real juice comes in.
Well, it's funny as you're talking, people don't know this because they're just listening to us. But every time you're talking about being caught up in your head and worried about the knots, you're sort of looking down at your hands. Like it's almost like your partner wouldn't even be there. It'd be absorbed with just the rope, you and the rope, right? As opposed to you and the partner.
Yeah. And in the beginning, I would have partners, I'd be tying this thing and they'd be like to kind of tap me on the shoulder, like, hello, like, I'm here. So now I definitely stress like, hey, there's this sexy being in front of you. Don't forget about them when you get caught up in this challenging situation.
Yeah. So how exploring this rope play and especially this mindfulness presence, self-leadership, make you a better lover, make you a better leader, enhance that sense of connection?
Yeah, I found so many parallels. And it took me a while to bring the two together because I was like, well, am I the kinky rope teacher or am I the open-hearted leadership coach? And I can't be both, right? Maybe there is some intersection there because the same skills that you develop to have that presence and that relaxation and confidence, that's going to apply. One, that's going to make your partner feel a lot safer in the bedroom. And it's going to develop more intimacy, more trust between each of you. They're going to feel safer with you. They're going to feel more respected, more heard. They're going to be more likely to relax into the guidance that you're bringing. Well, same thing applies to leadership. So if you start to lead somebody, but you're nervous and stressed about the technical part of it and you're too focused on the problem, well, you forget about the people that you're leading. But if you can approach your leadership with a relaxed body that's strong and vibrant and healthy, with an open heart that's full of love and connection, with a mind that's clear, and with the spirit that's elevated and strong, approach leadership from that place, and people naturally will follow you. And so that's how I've kind of tied it all together. The same skills that I was teaching people to be more effective with their rope play, I also found the same skills I was teaching people to be better leaders. Yeah.
I imagine these same capacities would apply with any sort of kinky sex play or any vanilla sex play, like at all, right? Anytime you're going to engage with your partner, whether you've got rope or not, whether you have a flog or not, whether you just have candles lit, right? Can you be open, grounded, calm, in control of yourself and connected to your partner, right?
Really, the rope is just a tool to develop that connection and that presence. and that intimacy. Also, learning how to create a container of safety for your partner is especially important. And as a man, I like to stress this, that a lot of men don't understand that women often many women's experience in life is one where they can be worried about their physical safety and have been throughout different moments of their life. And men typically don't have that, at least in my experience. And so I help men understand that it's important to ask a lot of questions to partners. I don't want to be too gender specific. And at the same time, I want to recognize that there is some difference. So regardless of where the gender is, being able to create a container of safety with your partner. And that's several ways. One is asking questions. So I teach people how to ask 4 questions before they're going to engage in role play or really any kind of kink play. Ask your partner how they're doing, how their body is, how they're physically feeling, and how emotionally feeling. How do they want to feel? So that's a really important. You may think your partner wants to feel bound and held and unescapable, and they just want to feel caressed and loved and relaxed. And so it's important to know. The third question I tell people to ask is to ask your partner, how can I help you feel that way? You may think you know how to help your partner feel something, but until you ask them, you don't really know. And then the fourth question is there anything you're worried about feeling, anything you're concerned about? And so by having those questions asked, you start to, the partner can relax more and feel like, oh, this person understands me, has got me, and we can go forward. Now, I didn't understand the importance of asking those questions because I didn't really feel unsafe. So you could just start tying me and I'd be fine. But my partner was like, no, we need to create this container of safety first. Very important.
Yeah. I'm thinking about it, I guess in my head, I know you're saying there are people that are rope bottoms and rope tops and all this, but I'm wondering if the self-leadership is different when you are being bound. If you want to speak to that a little bit, because I think asking these questions, I get the sense you're talking about as a person doing the tying. You want to check before you bind your partner with these things. But what about for the person that's being tied up in terms of self-leadership?
Sure. It goes both ways. Absolutely. And there is some difference. So the person obviously tying has more responsibility to take care of the safety, but the person being tied up also has a lot of responsibility to be able to speak up if something doesn't feel right, have any questions or concerns. It's a co-creation. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of rope bottoms may feel like I just need to shut up and take it and do whatever this partner wants me to do. And I teach that that's not the case at all. It's important to speak up and have that dialogue. But being able to relax your body is very important if you're being tied up. It can be scary. It can bring up a feeling of vulnerability. Yeah. Which can be really hard for people. It can be hard for men, especially to have that unable to move and vulnerable and open. So learning how to keep the heart open is really important on both sides. Same training for keeping the mind calm. Is if your mind starts to spin out when you're tied and you maybe start to feel panicky. So learning how to have a quiet mind is important as well. And then your spirit. Everyone's spirit can be elevated. So if you're tying someone who's just like, oh, I don't know, sure, tie me up. That's not. But if you're like, okay, yes, I'm ready. That's going to be more exciting.
It really strikes me too that in some of these experiences, I don't know how to put this quite in words. You're putting yourself in a situation where you're going to elicit some things which may be difficult or challenging or new, and that's part of. It seems like part of the benefit of this is to go in held with some ground rules, with some container, and be vulnerable in a way that you aren't used to. Right, to go into new spaces and kind of master yourself in that. I don't know how well I'm putting that, but
right.
It seems like
a great way to put it. Yeah. There's a lot of power in being vulnerable and being in that space. And I think, at least in my experience, the majority of men that I teach are a little hesitant to get into that space. It's not a role that men are typically taught to be in. Yeah. And it's a really powerful place to learn how to be, especially if you can be vulnerable as a leader. That's a real superpower. Yeah. So, and that's something that can be really challenging to learn. You can think if I share my feelings with these people that I'm leading, they're going to look at me as weak, but actually they're going to have a lot more respect for you. They're going to have a lot more trust. They're going to feel more connected and most likely have more empathy with you, which will help make you a more powerful leader.
Yeah. And then I imagine there'd be challenges for people of any gender really, in maybe being the one tying up if you're not naturally, I don't know if I want to say dominant, but being responsible for someone else, having that kind of control like that. I bet that's I sort of want to say triggering, but I bet that's challenging for people too, right? To hold someone else's well-being like that.
Yeah, most people, it's an edge. It's a definite edge, and it's a skill to learn. And you really want to keep your partner safe. So there's that. Like, am I doing the right thing because my partner? I want them to feel safe.
Yeah.
There's am I doing the right thing because I want them to feel like I'm competent? That's another really kind of scary edge, is to not be the most, like, you're just learning how to do some rope stuff, and so you may not show up as the super slick rigor person, but that's okay. Because you're vulnerable and real with your partner. I also like to teach that rope play doesn't necessarily need to be like these technical knots. It doesn't have to be any technical at all. Most of what I teach in the intro classes are non-technical uses of rope. Just running rope over someone's skin, or holding the rope around them without tying it, or creating that connection between each other.
Yeah.
Or even just a simple, like a chest harness that just doesn't bind the body, but just kind of accentuates someone. So there's that as well. There's a whole range of what rope play means. I used to call it rope bondage. Now I call it erotic rope play.
Yeah.
Because it's many facets of that.
And when you teach this, are you teaching people and asking them to get into both positions? Are they usually showing up with a partner and this is sort of coupled, or is this more open workshop and you're working with different people? Because I'm thinking those dynamics would be very different than working with like your spouse,
I used to teach, like I said, I was saying earlier, I used to hold a monthly rope meetup. Anybody could come. Oftentimes a lot of single people came, and I would invite them to pair up. Mm-hmm. Everyone's at choice for any of these.
Right.
Since I stopped teaching in-person classes, I started hosting mostly couples, a 3 or 5 week series class. And that's mostly people who are partnered up.
Okay.
But I've also held rope singles classes where people can rotate. So you tie with someone for a little bit and somebody else and someone else. And so all of that.
And do you usually encourage them to be on both sides of the rope?
All right. I invite them to.
Okay.
So I always say you totally had choice. There'll be times in the class that I invite you. It'd be a good time to switch sides or not, whatever is going to work for you. And I would think probably 80% of the people in the classes do the switching.
Yeah.
Some are just like, I only want to be tied up. I don't need to know, or I'm only doing the tying. I don't want to be bound. And then that's fine. So there's no judgment, but I do encourage people to, if you're feeling hesitant to be on one side or the other, well, maybe lean into that edge a little. Maybe there's something there for you.
Yeah, an opportunity there for something, I would imagine.
There's not, no problem.
Yeah.
But it might be something worth considering. And people who have, say, resisted to being tied up and have let themselves go into that space oftentimes have a really powerful experience.
I bet.
And really enjoyable, uplifting experience, almost like a healing. It can be very healing.
Yeah.
Especially for leaders, for example, so used to being in charge and like having to hold it all together. Well, what's it like to take a little time out from that and have somebody hold you together, physically or with the ropes? The whole nervous system can relax and go to a real deep place. I gently encourage, but I never, of course, make anybody.
Right. Is this all taught in person? I mean, I'm trying to imagine how else it could go, but is this something that's limited to people that can come to Santa Cruz and see you in person and do a workshop?
No. The last few times I've taught, they've all been online. So they've been these online 5-week, but and at first I was like, I don't know if I can teach over Zoom.
Right.
And I can teach most things.
Okay.
But kind of the hands-on, you can't really feel me tying you up. So you can't really feel like what that tension is like. And so there is some limitation to that. I do hold some private sessions with people as well that want to come to my studio here in Santa Cruz, or I've gone also traveling around the Bay Area. I prefer to teach in person. It's a lot more fun, a lot more dynamic. And I've been able to reach more people over Zoom, and it works pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine that at least for sort of an introduction, getting into this, starting some of that process, it would be a reasonable way to go. And then maybe they decide to come to Santa Cruz for more in-depth.
Right. Yeah. And I have some video teachings. I have a video course, The Heart of Erotic Rope Bondage, that people have access to whenever they take my classes. So that gives so I give some good instruction, and I do miss the in-person teaching for sure. And open to doing that.
Jessa here, just taking a quick break. Thanks for listening. Are you interested in being a guest on the show? I'm always looking for people with expertise to share that could enrich other people's sex lives. And I'm also interested in hearing from people who have transformed their own intimate relationship and would want to share their story with my listeners. So if you've got something to contribute to the discussion and want to see about being featured on an upcoming episode, please visit our website, bettersexpodcast.com, and check out the Be a Guest details. You'll find everything you need there. So I'm wondering if you could share, we've got everybody listening to this and maybe they're interested to speak now. It's like, rope play. This is way more intriguing than it used to be. But what about some sort of way people could put some of this to use without rope instruction? Going back to this whole concept of self-leadership, how could people practice that or do something with that at home this evening, potentially? Well,
I teach you a process I call the PRISM process.
PRISM?
PRISM.
Okay.
And PRISM.
Right.
And I use that word because if you have a crystal and it's dirty and out of the light, it's not going to shine. But if it's clear and aligned with the light, then boom, it's going to radiate out everywhere. So it's a way to have clarity and alignment, but together with action. So this is a good way to develop more intimacy and more leadership in your relationship. And at first, I'll give you an example of how I used it. Just this past New Year's Eve, it was just me and my partner, and we had a nice evening planned. And things started to go south about 10 o'clock. And the dinner was late, and my partner was hungry, and she crashes, and it just started to be like a really bad New Year. And I was just like, I really want to start the new year off in the right way, but I'm not sure how to get out of this. And so I applied the PRISM process to pull out and have an amazing New Year's. And it's a good way you can end any argument this way that you're having with
oh my gosh. Okay.
Magic technique.
Bring it on.
Simple. And there's 4 steps.
Okay.
So let's say you're in the middle of some really challenging situation or argument with your partner. The first step is to be able to just relax your body. And you have to first want or know that you can lead yourself out of this situation. So first prerequisite is have the perspective that you can change things, that you're not just caught up in this pit of despair where you can't get out.
Yeah.
Which we all get caught up in that. There's no end to it.
Right. Or it's all about what our partner's doing, right? They just need to change, right? This is self-leadership. So okay.
As a self-leadership, you realize, I'm actually the leader here. So how can I lead? So the first step is to relax your body and connect to what it is that you want. So on New Year's, I took a moment, and I was like, I was worried this was going to be a terrible start to 2022, but I remembered my PRISM process. And so I relaxed my body, took a moment just to feel my body relax, and I connected to what I want. And what I wanted was to step into 2022 New Year's Day in a really powerful way. So that was the first step, connect to what you want. The second, is I let my heart open and I connected to how I wanted to feel in that moment. And the way I wanted to feel was connected to my partner and excited about our New Year's. Mm-hmm. And so that's the second step, open the heart, connect to how you want to feel. The third step is to get quiet for a moment, let the mind go quiet and clear, and just wait for some answer to come up about how can you begin to feel that way right now. Like, what's the next step you can take to begin to feel that way right now? So I took a moment, I relaxed, opened my heart, quieted my mind, and the thought came up, tell your partner the vision of you've got this. It's only 10 o'clock and we get 2 hours till midnight and we give so I started telling her like, hey babe, I know it's rough right now. It's only 10 o'clock. We got 2 hours to really turn this thing around. I plan on walking into 2022 in a really powerful way. I know things are a little rough at this moment, but don't you worry. Like, I've got this and I've got us. And I hear your feelings, how you're feeling now. You're a little sad and stressed and hungry. And I've got this. Dinner's going to be ready soon. We're going to do this and that. And I started listening, started to say some things. And she's like, wow, like all of a sudden I feel good about this New Year's. I feel like you've got me. I feel like you're centered and that I can just relax. She didn't say it, but can relax into your leadership.
Yeah.
And we had the most amazing time. We ended up being up till 2:30 and I walked into 2022 in a really powerful way. So if you're ever in the middle of any argument with someone and you can remember that you're the leader or that you have the leadership potential inside of you, first step is to connect with what it is that you want out of the situation. Do you want to have a sexy night with your partner? How do you want to feel? Well, I want to feel like flirty and like, juicy. Okay. Well, what do I need to do right now to feel that way? I mean, tell my partner how beautiful she looks.
Yeah.
Like, put the argument aside and just say, hey, babe, you're looking really hot right now. I know we're fighting, but I love you and you're super cute. And so then see, where that goes and then start taking the step towards what it is that you actually want to feel, and magic things happen. So you pull yourself out of those challenging situations with just four really easy steps.
This is where I think the whole term of self-leadership really comes into play, because somebody could see a situation like that, like I need to take control and make my partner behave, or get them to stop what they're, they might see leadership as imposing something on the other, as opposed to, can I slow down, be grounded, connect to what I want, and take my own step towards that. And then that's going to draw my partner to follow. Like that's so different. So,
there was no way I was going to be like, babe, like fix yourself, like
right.
happy,
Get your act together so we can have a good New Year's. Right. Yeah. That's not going to work.
Doesn't work that way.
Right.
Instead, I need to pull my own act together.
Yeah.
And get really clear and grounded and centered into how I want to be.
Yeah.
And that's how it is with rope play too. So how do you want it to be? Well, you want to feel confident and connected and in tune with your partner. You want to have this experience. And so having those self-leadership skills goes a long way.
I'm also sitting here thinking your 4 questions are another thing people could take away immediately, because that is a conversation you could have almost about anything. How do you feel? How do you want to feel? How can I help you? And what are you afraid of feeling? It's like, whoa, that's great too.
Yeah. Especially if you're not used to asking your partner questions like this, which I wasn't, because I didn't know that was really important. I didn't know it was important for my partner to like be able to express their needs. But try it. Like next time you're going to engage in some kind of play or any kind of play, or go on a trip, ask them how are you feeling? How do you want to feel? How can I help you feel that way? And anything you're worried about, and see what starts to open up. Especially for men, I think you'll be surprised. The more questions that you ask of your partner, the better. It works both ways too. It works always. Gender fluid, gender queer, non-binary. It works for all people. But I also want to recognize that that men typically don't understand the need to create that sense of safety. Right.
All right. So tell people where they can find you, where they can find these programs and courses and work with you if they're interested.
Sure. If you're interested in the rope side, you can go to knot-love, KNOT-love.com. You can download a free, I think it's like an 18-minute instructional video. So get some like kind of the basics. And I'll have a 5-week rope series starting around Valentine's Day. And I also offer a one-on-one 3-hour sessions. So if you want to get ready to tie your partner up on Valentine's Day, that's a great way to check out. And also Willey Leadership, WILLEY Leadership. So I'm doing men's work. I have an 8-week Awaken the Leader Within program. And this is specifically self-leadership for men. I found that really one of the hottest things you can do if you're a guy in your relationship is to start doing men's work. Men's work is so important for so many reasons. One, you don't know how badly your partner wants you to have guys supporting you. They really wanted it. My partner was like, you should join a men's group. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, maybe. She's like, a few months later, you should join one. What she was really saying was, join a freaking men's group. Once I did, her attraction for me skyrocketed because she'd be able to relax. Like I was relying on her for support, emotional support. And she's like, I can't be that for you all the time. Like you need a group of men supporting you. So I think men improve better when they work on themselves together with the support and encouragement and accountability of other men. So this is a self-leadership program for men, 8-week program. So you can find more information about that on WileyLeadership.com. So if you're a guy listening and you want your relationship to be better and you're not part of a men's group, and not all men's group are created equal, find one that's really supportive, reach out to me. I can help, could help guide you, or take my men's leadership program. But it's really one of the best things that you can do for yourself as a man and for your relationship. I polled some women on my Facebook page and I got like 30 women saying like, it's so hot, men doing men work. It's so attractive. It's essential. Like must do this. And so I can't really stress it enough. And I also have a corporate offering. So I also bring in this self-leadership program to the corporate world. So.
I see though that you still end up with two different websites, Not Love and Wiley Leadership. It's like they're coming together, but they still have different doors, I guess. So yeah.
The real focus for me is on the leadership, the inner game. And the rope stuff is fun to teach and good and important. What really lights me up is to help people develop their self-care, self-love, self-reflection, self-inspiration abilities to be better leaders, be stronger leaders. And then really ultimately you awaken a leader within, you do the work to embody that leadership, then you unleash it out in the world, and then you evolve your leadership to the next level. Once you've gone out there, like what's ready? And then you awaken that leader and embody that new leadership. And little by little, you begin to connect a leadership that's to like the highest potential of humanity. And then when you reach that place starts to lead you and guide you. So that's kind of the big vision of what I'm teaching.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure to talk with you.
You've been listening to Better Sex. Please visit our website, bettersexpodcast.com, for show notes and additional episodes.
And that's a wrap for today. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. If you are enjoying the podcast, if some of this material resonates with you and you would like to make a difference and make sure that this keeps coming out in the world once a week, ongoing, there are a couple things you could do to show your appreciation. The first would be to go to iTunes and rate and review the show. That really helps us be found by new listeners when you review the show on iTunes. You can find a link at bettersexpodcast.com/iTunes. The other thing I want to invite you to consider is becoming a Patreon. For a small monthly pledge, you get some benefits. So for $2 a month, you get advance access to every single episode. For $5 a month, you get a chapter of my upcoming new book. And for $10 a month, I host quarterly get-to-know-you and question and answer chats over the web, and you get invited to that. I would love to have your membership in that, become part of the Better Sex family. You can find a link at bettersexpodcast.com/Patreon, which is Patreon. Again, thanks for listening. I'm glad you're here. Feel free to comment, ask questions, get in touch. I'd love to hear from listeners. Thanks.